David Feherty from CBS and the Golf Channel, who was out at Lytham St. Anne's over the weekend covering the Open Championship. David, am I allowed to say British Open because we are in the United States, or must I say the Open Championship and sound so much more sophisticated than I really am?
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, you're perfectly entitled to call it the British Open because that's what it is. It's really only members of the R&A and members of the USGA who would like to be members of the R&A that say the Open Championship.
I want to know what was more nerve-wracking. Being Ernie Els in the clubhouse. Actually, he was on the putting green eating a sandwich, but that's besides the point. Being in the clubhouse with no control, or being Adam Scott having 2 holes not to blow it and just completely blowing it.
Yeah, I think you'd have to call that Adam Scott, out there shaking like a pregnant nun. There's no way to, unless you've been there, and I haven't. I had a couple of chances to win major championships, but I made sure that I screwed up earlier than Adam Scott did. Somewhere in the middle of the back nine, where, Peter Ellis could say, well, if it hadn't been for the 13th, the Bill Dulsterman might have been Open champion, Yeah, like that's going to happen. No. Watching that yesterday, it was agonizing. But you had the feeling that, it was just going to happen. 4 shots is a tough lead to defend, especially on a golf course like Lytham. You don't know whether to try to go forwards or to try to stay where you are and then wait and see if somebody comes at you and then make the move. Adam left every putt short pretty much until 13, and then Ernie hung a number up. And that was the point where he realized that now I've got to shoot a score, and by that stage, the nerves had got to him.
Ernie Els was 6 back at the turn. Was there a particular point where, in your mind, you started to say, he's a contender? Look at him. He's a contender. Hasn't won a major in 10 years. He's 42 years old, but by gosh, he's a contender. Yeah.
I think on the last tee, I thought, if he hangs up 8 under here, or 7 under, whatever it was, I think I didn't even think there would be a playoff. The way that Adam was looking, having played the game, you get a sense of body language and just the way that a player is feeling. And those last 4 holes at Lytham, oh dear God, especially the last, where you stand on the tee and you think, well, you feel like hitting it backwards. It seems like the only safe place. So, when he poured that putt in at the last, I really felt that he had a chance to win it outright. Although, I didn't expect it to happen the way it did.
Adam Scott's long putter was such a blessing for almost the entire tournament. Why do you think it failed him down the end? Do you think it was more a mental thing, or do you think the win, which really hadn't been very existent throughout, just happened to be in the final round?
Yeah, it was interesting to notice how that golf course changed. It was very benign and
for the first 3 rounds, right?
Yeah, for the first 3 rounds it played soft, and it just firmed up a little bit, and the wind just blew a little bit, and it turned into a saber-toothed tiger. God only knows what it would have played like if it had been like that all week. It really is a very difficult golf course, and in terms of Adam's putter, he didn't get a putt to the hole virtually all day, and all of the putts that he missed on the way in, he missed them left. So there was some anxiety, that got into the fine. The fast twitch muscles, in there in his fingers of his right hand that just wanted to get that putter head through a little faster, and he caught it out of the toe. But the putt he hit on the last, after a magnificent third shot, I really thought that he'd made it. It could have ended up very differently, but, for Ernie Els, one of the most beloved players, that has ever played the game, probably, he's the big friendly giant. There's no superstar in him. Every player loves him. Every fan loves him. I don't think, I think it'll be remembered for Ernie winning and not Adam losing.
Tiger Woods, David Feherty, CBS and the Golf Channel. If ever we could lay out a pattern for his play customarily, if he was going to struggle, it would usually be in the early rounds and then he'd be money late. And when I saw the triple on 6, I was trying to figure out if somebody body snatched him, because it's just so not customary. But this year it seems that he's struggled down the stretch. Why do you think that might be?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of weirdness. That lie that he got in the sixth on the sixth hole was just. I mean, if you'd been allowed to place the ball, you couldn't have put it in a worse spot. I mean, it wasn't buried badly enough for him to, play it back into the bunker. There was just a slight chance that he might have been able to get it up far enough. If he tilted his shoulders back more parallel to the slope, and then when he hits it, I don't know what that was, but it looked like the first part of the Macarena that he had to do to get out of the way. It was one of the most athletic things I've ever seen. Just avoiding it, and then the stance he had to take up, the upward-facing hamster or whatever it was. It was just the worst possible scenario playing out there for him. And a triple bogey, and he ends up 4 shots behind. Who knows what might have happened? But my point, Bonnie, would be just how well does this guy have to play before we start talking about him as if he's playing well? Because we keep comparing him to the standard that he had back at the turn of the century, which was superhuman and is likely never to be repeated. Your children, my children, their children will not see someone play golf like that in their lifetimes. So, the guy is close to number 1 in the world. He's in the running for Player of the Year. He's the only person to have won 3 times this year, and yet we're thinking of him as somehow he's kind of a failure. It's really it's a skewed perspective.
Yeah, if there's one question I could ban in golf, it would probably be, is Tiger back?
Yes, really.
When you watched Ernie Els afterwards, he was so gracious, and we all know that he's very close with Adam Scott. But David, I couldn't help but to think back to his career arc and how he has experienced so many close calls,
exactly,
so many runners-up, predominantly to Tiger Woods, but then the Open, I think it was '99 with Mickelson. I can't remember the year, but he's had so many of those close call experiences. How much do you think that might have been running through his mind as he was sitting there and talking to Adam?
Yeah, I think it was definitely running through his mind. But when you think of great winners, Bonnie, you think of Jack Nicklaus, and the thing that people forget about Jack Nicklaus was he was the greatest loser of all time as well. No one was more, graceful, and no one lost more often. He finished second, I don't know how many times, and I've forgotten the number of second places he had in major championships, and he had his hat off and his arm around the winner, congratulating him. Just one of the greatest gentlemen ever to play any sport. And Ernie Els is in the same mold. And I'm not worried about Adam Scott. He has all the support that he needs from both his peers and including Greg Norman, whose ear he has, and was the first phone call, I've no doubt, that he received yesterday after the whole thing was over would have been from Greg, who had his fair share, to say the least, of disappointment as well. So Adam Scott will be back.
To say the least. The season finale of Feherty, you can catch it on Golf Channel. It airs Monday, July 30th at 10 o'clock with guest John Daly. David Feherty. Oh, I did just say it like Dan. I'm very proud of myself. David, thank you. Great talking to you.
Brilliant. Nice to talk to you, Dan. Your voice has changed.
I have to get a very deep voice.
Thanks, Bonnie.
All right. Take it easy, Dave.